This Mopar 383 was born in 1968 and put into a Dodge D200 Camper Special pickup. It rolled down the road for nearly 190,000 miles. And today, Nick is going to take it apart.
Welcome to Nick's Garage, and what do I've got here for a teardown? I've got a 383 engine from Lucas, who's brought it here. If you guys have seen it in an earlier video, Lucas all the way from Victoria, British Columbia, brought it here to get this engine built. And this is for a D200 Camper Special with a long bed, and Lucas calls this truck Betsy. He gave it a name, so he calls it Betsy. Anyways, our job this year is to build this engine. So I want to tear it down in front of the camera for all you viewers to see what this engine really has. Apparently it's never been opened up or anything like that. Maybe just the valve covers, I am not so sure. So let's start tearing it down. And Lucas, if you're watching, let's see what we've got.
Lucas wants Nick to build him an engine with more than 400 horsepower and mountains of torque to boot. And he wants it to be reliable, as he plans to take Betsy on plenty of adventures and put the old girl to work.
Yeah, he wants 400 with good torque. You know, after I'm going to tear this down and building it up again for Lucas, there is one item on this engine that he wants to keep, and that is his Melling high volume oil pump. He's always loved it. He's had it on this motor, and for that reason, I will put it back onto this motor, which is right here. After all, I use Melling oil pumps on all the engine builds I do. And you know, Melling does a lot of good stuff. In this case, Lucas has it already, so we're going to put it back on this motor. All I'm going to do is open it up, make sure there's no worn out gears or anything, and if it looks good, we're going to put it right back into the engine. So we're going to start removing the intake manifold, distributor, water pump, and so forth. So let's take off the accessories first. Let's get going. I'll start with the spark plug wires. And you know, Lucas calls her Betsy, old Betsy. He gave the vehicle a name, D200 Camper Special, long bed. No, we don't do too many truck motors, but you know what? I've done a few 383s. I've got one here for Lucas. I've got another 383 right there that Vasily's working on. But in the meantime, let's concentrate on this one here because it's been here for a while. Lucas is asking me to take my time, but doesn't matter. Right now I got a free day, and I said, you know what? Let's tear it down. I don't think this motor's ever been opened up. I know he's installed electronic ignition. The intake manifold is not original. It's been replaced. He's replaced the water pump. He's got an aluminum water pump on it. So we're going to take all that off. Here we go. Take off the wiring for the distributor. And now we're going to take off the distributor, like so. Let's start removing the ignition coil. You know, I hate to say this, but it looks pretty roughed up, but we're gonna make a nicer job when we start putting it together and we paint it hemi orange color, I believe he's gonna want. It is hemi orange. So we're gonna paint it the factory color. There we go. Okay, there's the alternator. You know what, it's about time we start using some power tools. I know a lot of people, a lot of viewers asking me, Nick, don't you use power tools? I do, so let's get started. But you know what, when you use power tools, you don't feel the bolt, the threads, what's in there. You know, when you use a hand, you feel it. You know, it goes by experience, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna use the power tools, take it all down, and we'll take it from there, and let's finish it off a lot quicker. After all, we're gonna check all the threads and the bolts as we assemble the engine. Here, that was quick, eh? There you go. That goes there. This one here, you can't put a power tool. You got the Hero's nipple in the way. So it doesn't matter. We're just gonna take our time, take it off with a key. Or should I say wrench. This is the water pump. This is the water pump housing. Water pump thermostat housing. I'll try to give the names one by one as I dismantle it so people know what I'm talking about. Or maybe if people don't know what the names are, I'll help you guys out. This is what you call a water pump housing assembly with the water pump and of course the thermostat housing. All right, so let's take off now the intake manifold. Let me just crack them loose. I remember when Lucas brought it here, all the way from Victoria. He had in the back of his other 1970 Dodge truck, another one, driven all the way here from Victoria. And this engine was in the back of that other Dodge truck. Imagine that, eh? And the other one had a 318 in the Dodge truck. But this is his old Betsy, he calls Betsy for the other truck, which is a 3D3. And as you can see here, this is a YN intake manifold, which is not factory. It's a single plane. I'm not really crazy about it for torque power. But anyways, we're gonna look into it. Or maybe we'll just try it out on the dynos. Here it goes.
Listen up, everybody. Here comes a lesson from Professor Nick.
I've got 3 bolts here. For you guys that don't know any better, I just want to help you guys out. If you take a good look right here, I want to tell you the quality of bolts to use when you're working on an engine. For example, if you look at the head of the bolt, there's stripes. For example, if you look at, they're all 3/8 coarse thread, okay? You look at this bolt, there's no stripes whatsoever. This is a bolt that you should never use for anything on an engine. It is the cheapest quality bolt you can use. Then, which is another common bolt, is a bolt with the 3 stripes right here. This is a grade 5 bolt. That's pretty good. It's not bad at all. And then if you want to go to a stronger bolt, a lot stronger, with the 6 stripes, which is a grade 8. This is an ultimate bolt to use for anything you want on an engine. So there you guys have it. If you guys want to do some work on an engine, never use a bolt that has no stripes on it whatsoever. Always start with 3 stripes and you can't go wrong. And if you want to go stronger, 6 stripes. So you got a grade 8 with a 6 stripe, you got a grade 5 with a 3 stripe. No stripes is grade 0 for me. So there you go. when you have a bolt that's seized on an engine, and you got one of these cheap bolts, for example, if you have this on an exhaust manifold and you want to remove it, there's no way it's going to come out. It'll probably break inside the head or anywhere, whatever it's used for. But you don't want to start drilling and then tapping it. You know, you don't want all these headaches. So always use good quality bolts when you build an engine, okay? Or any bracket, accessories, whatever, anything on the car. Always use a good quality bolt. You know, Lucas, yeah, these bolts, a couple of them were on the intake, but it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna reuse any of these bolts. Any engine I tear down and I find a bolt that has no stripes whatsoever, I never use them. I scrap them. And a lot of times, you know what, a lot of people will use a chain block to pick up an engine or lift an engine, and use one of these bolts and they put it in here like this, and they put a chain. You never want to use one of these bolts, because one of these bolts could bend on you or might break and snap and be very dangerous. So don't you guys forget, put a striped head bolt on anything you do. Well, if I'm going to use it or not, I'm not so sure. This is a single plane intake, which I'm not crazy about. It's a single plane, but if you want to build torque, low RPM, you need a dual plane intake, not a single plane. Anyways, I'm going to talk to Lucas on this. We're going to see if we're going to change it or not, but I'm not crazy about this intake. This is nice if you're going to full race and full throttle, but in your purpose, you want torque and you want low in power, this is not the intake to use. You know, a lot of times when I use an aluminum intake, I use paper gasket on the intake gasket. See, this is a valley pan gasket, and when I use an aluminum intake, I always use a piece of paper. This is what I was talking about. See that paper? See, when aluminum intake is used, I use this paper to have a good seal with aluminum intake versus cast iron heads with a valley pan gasket. Well, whoever did it, I don't know who did it, but it doesn't matter. When we do it, we're going to do it the correct way. Let's take off the valley pan gasket and see what's underneath there. We're going to see the push rods right now and the lifters and the cam. You know what? I prefer putting engines together than taking them apart. I don't know why. It's because I like putting an engine together when it's nice and clean. Taking it apart is not one of my favorite things. But you know what? As you take it apart, you always have to take notes, what you see or what you see when you take it apart. For example, we're going to take out the 8 spark plugs, and spark plugs give you a reading. And I can tell you how the engine was running. Not that it really matters, because we're going to overhaul the complete motor, but just to let you know, just in case, for example, you're doing a tune-up on a car or something, and you're looking at spark plugs, and one is, let's say, for example, oily, black, shiny on the tip of the plug, then you know that cylinder's an issue. Okay. Let me take off this. Here we go. Wow, they used the gasket underneath. I can see that. There we go. Let's see all those push rods. There's that cam. Wow. Everything looks pretty good down there. It's a simple hydraulic flat tappet cam. That's what it is from the factory, and that's what she's got. Okay, let's take off the valve cover. I've got Vasily working in the back there, working on an intake manifold. He's doing some trim work on it, so he's grinding it away to make it fit properly on the engine I'm working on in the back. In the meantime, I know it's going to be a little bit noisy, but don't worry about it. Let's put a mine on this one here. These are genuine bolts on the valve cover. You see that? And if you guys wanted to know, on the valve covers, a stud in this corner, like so, is correct. When you got bolts on the 4 center bolts, like so, it's original. Factory rockers. Not bad. It's got some sludge, not much, but for that kind of mileage, it's a pretty clean motor. Okay, let's take off this side. You know, these exhaust manifolds are not high performance whatsoever. They're regular truck manifolds. They're not designed for performance whatsoever. But when we run it on the dynamometer, we're gonna use headers anyways. What Lucas does at home with his truck, I'm not so sure, but anyways, he told me dyno test it with headers. And that is the way we're gonna do it. I'm gonna start calling her Betsy. That's what Lucas calls it. I'll call it Betsy also. After all, he named the truck. So if this belongs to Betsy, let's call it Betsy. Let's go. All right, look at that. Looks like it's got the genuine original valve springs on it also. He's had the valve cover gaskets replaced at one time, you can tell. But if you guys look here closely, you can tell that the dirt and grime looks original. Been like this for a long time. Okay, so let's start removing these exhaust manifolds. I hope they come off easily. One thing with me, for sure on these Mopars, you can throw all the bolts in one box. I know exactly where they all go. So I'm not gonna worry about that one bit. You know, if you got a stud and you got a nut to remove and it's got to go through a lot of threads that have rust, what you should do is lubricate the threads before you take out the nut. So on its way out, it's lubricated on the way out. So I use some of the CRC knocker loose, which is like penetrating fluid. Some are tighter, some are looser. Here we go. You see, sometimes when you put an impact on it, or sort of say a power tool, you don't feel it coming out tight after. So you might snap the stud inside the cylinder head. So what I do is I go to my ratchet, and you got a good feel when it gets tightened up. You go back in with the nut, put some more penetrating fluid in there, go in and out, and finally you're gonna get the nut out without breaking the stud inside the cylinder head. Like so. Here we go. You see? I'm going to show you a little demonstration on the other side in a minute. No, that one is loose. You know, looking at it really good. Yeah, you guys can see that this is no way a high performance exhaust manifold. Nothing like it. This is what came with the truck. I guess this is what Lucas is gonna put back on. Anyways, there it is. If you do take a look, the manifolds were being removed before. If you look at the old gasket, that's not genuine. Just by looking at this, you know that the exhaust manifolds have been removed before. For what reason, I don't know, but you know what? Let's keep going, we'll find out to see if this has ever been torn down before. As we tear it down, we're gonna find out. back in the day, the 383 was a very common muscle car engine back in the late 60s and early 70s, because it was introduced as a muscle car motor, the Roadrunner, the Challenger, the Barracuda. So, you know, for a budget, for the horsepower, for the engine, this was one of the best engines around. Here, this one came out with a stud. See that? I want to tell guys with the big block Mopars, just in case somebody doesn't notice, on the studs, on the big block Mopar, that when you don't seal it with a thread sealer inside the stud, and if it doesn't bottom out, you're gonna have a coolant leak, because every time a stud is missing, there's coolant behind it. So if you're missing a stud, don't leave it alone. Better close that hole up or put another bolt. And on the small block Mopars, it's only the one on the furthest end is in the coolant jacket. On the big block Mopar, all 6 studs are into the water jackets. And here's our last one, and here we go. Oh boy. Just a plain, It's got the spring here for the heat raiser valve, but no valve in there whatsoever. Doesn't matter. We don't need it. If the truck's driven in the winter, Lucas could always put it back, but I don't think this truck will be driven in the winter. All right, so now we're going to take off the rocker assembly and also the push rods. Here we go. I'll crack them loose a little bit at a time, because you don't want to bend the shaft. It's under pressure with springs. Some valves are open, some are closed. So this is what I do. I crack them loose a little bit at a time, going one into the others, like so. This way you don't bend the shaft, okay? There we go. So when you feel them all loose, you're ready to take it off. See? You crack them loose a little bit at a time so you don't bend the shaft. Some rockers are under tension with the whichever valve is open according to the cam lobe. So you want to crack it loose like so. Slowly a little bit from one end to the other, so you don't bend the shaft, like so. So now, as you can see, there's no more pressure, you can take it off. Yeah, we gotta be gentle with old Betsy here. There we go. People say I don't use power tools. Well, here it is, I'm using one right now. Here we go. And if someone's asking, why am I wearing gardening gloves? The reason is because, you know, you wash your hands so often that your skin becomes dry. So there's nothing wrong with wearing gloves like this and then throw them out after. They're very inexpensive. So that's a very good point to use them. Here's the shaft, and let's take out the push rods. Looks pretty good. Let's get the other side off. Let's take a look at the spark plugs. We all know they've been replaced before. Here we go. Look at that. Oil. You can see it probably needs valve guides, valve seals, piston rings, whatever. Let's take out the next one. This one is not as bad. Look at that. This is cylinder number 6. Cylinder number 4. cylinder number 2. Oh. So we can see that cylinder number 8, it seems like it's consumed oil, piston rings, valve guide, valve seals, whatever. After all, it's normal. After all, it's got so many miles anyways. Okay, let's go on this side. Let's check cylinder number 1. This one's not too bad. I'll put it right here. Cylinder number 3, and now let's check cylinder number 5. This is not too bad at all. Okay, and now cylinder number 7. Okay, this is not too bad. So we know that cylinder number 8 has an issue. Okay, doesn't matter. It's here for a complete overhaul anyways. You know what, I'm going to start removing the pulley, the harmonic balance, the timing chain cover, because I really want to take a look at the timing chain. It should be a nylon gear, and the teeth on the cam gear should be practically worn out. So let's take it all out and take a look. First of all, we got to find those bolts in the dirt, like so. Well, it's turning easy, eh? Okay, let's use some power tool on this. There we go. Got all the original bolts out. And now let's give it a tap and knock off the drive pulley. Oh, there we go. Not much there, eh? Okay. I'll put this over here. Next. Now I gotta get that big socket, take out that big bolt. You can tell just by looking at this harmonic balancer that this is a forged crankshaft. Steel crank. See, it's got no counterweights offset. So this here tells you that this is a steel crank. All right, let's keep going. Next, we gotta use a puller to remove the harmonic balancer. So let's get going on that. You know, this damper is pressed on there, so we're gonna have to use a puller to get it out. Like so. Okay, let's tighten this up a little bit. Like so. Okay, now we use a gun with the 3/4. And let's use the impact and use it against the tool to remove the harmonic balancer. Here we go. There we go. And if you look behind the harmonic balancer, there's no offset weights in the back, as you can see. So you know this is a steel crank. All 33s come with steel cranks anyways. Is the oil drained on this motor? I have no idea. One way to find out, let's take out the drain plug. Did Lucas remove the oil? I do not know. I made my own basket here. Wow. Let's get the drain plug removed. Let's see if Lucas brought the oil from Victoria. Let's find out. I made my own basket here. Made by Seal Test, I believe. Anyways, you just cut it open on the side so you could go over the engine stand. And this way you just put a drain pan right above it and it does the job for you. Now there we go. See that? They never drain the oil. Okay, so let it drain. Okay, we're just gonna take a minute break here while the oil is draining from this 383. I just want to show you guys what we've done to the dining room lately. I had my buddy Leo come and help me paint it. So let's take a look. Leo, how you doing?
Not bad, Nick. Not bad.
Check this out. So,
There it is.
so you finally finished painting it?
Yes, sir, I did. Yes, I did.
Actually came in yesterday and we bought some paint and we wanted to paint the dining room and the office. So we got started and it looks pretty nice. You did a great job there, Leo.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
I wanted to say a very special thank you to all our Patreon supporters and our donations on our live shows that this is what we're using with the donations. So we're starting to upgrade, do some repairs in our dining room, buy some new tools, which I bought lately.
Great.
And now we made a little darker color because we wanted to make a more washable paint. So everybody would touch this with their greasy hands. It was a lot much easier to remove the finger marks. We took it up to 61 inches.
Yeah, it doesn't show as much. The fingerprints don't show as much if there are, right?
That's right.
With this darker color, I find.
And the color we chose is right here from Superflow. Same color as the box or the unit on our dynamometer. Okay, so the only thing left is to paint that cabinet.
Yep, that's all that's left.
Okay, you did a great job.
Yes, sir.
So you did the frame?
Yep.
Look at that. This is beautiful, man. This is really nice.
Perfect.
This is nice. Check this out, eh?
Yep.
This is
Nice and
beautiful.
clean.
This is beautiful. So now we're just going to put everything back into place so we could do some more dyno testing and get back into action. What do you say there?
Yeah, I'm down for that.
There we go. Thank you, guys.
Great.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to remove the dipstick tube, but for some reason it's stuck here. Oh, there we go. You don't want to squeeze it too much. There we go. Next, let's take out the fuel pump in the meantime. Okay, it's not the original piece, it's been replaced. After all, a fuel pump cannot last that long. Here we go. But I can tell you one thing, it's got the genuine original fuel pump bolts right there. Those are genuine bolts to a fuel pump on a big block Mopar. The bolt and the washer is one piece, not separated. This tells you it's a genuine Chrysler bolt that holds the fuel pump in place. Let's take a look at the block, see what year it is, right over here. Okay, it's November 8th, 1967. So that makes it correct for 1968 Dodge D200. There you have it, you guys, matching motor. And apparently it's got 190,000 miles on it for a Dodge D200. It's a camper special with a long bed. And he calls it Betsy. All right, let's take out the timing chain cover. I just want to see that timing gear. I'm curious to see this because usually from the factory it's a nylon gear on the camshaft, and with this kind of mileage it should be a few teeth worn out, or should I say worn out nylon gear. So let's take it off and find out. I'll just take out the two bolts in the front for the oil pan. Lucas has driven it for 50,000 miles since he's bought it. So he's bought it around 150,000 miles. Now it's got nearly 200,000 miles. So he's driving it quite a bit. So let's take it apart and see what she looks like from the inside. And look at this one here. It's buried, you gotta find it. See this one here? Right in the bottom? Where is it? It's gotta be somewhere in there. There it is. Okay. You know, after taking apart an engine like this, you gotta wash all your tools before you put them away. Because you don't wanna take a socket that got this dirty, and then you usually go and putting when you're assembling a rebuild engine and you got a dirty socket and you go put it on a brand new or clean bolt. So that's a no-no. So you gotta wash your tools before you put them away. Okay, here we go. There we go. Wow. There's a slinger. Every Mopar engine has this. And here's the chain. Wow. Look how loose it is. There it is, the original nylon gear. Here's what I was talking about. You see these teeth here? They're missing. The nylon coating is missing. Let's take it off and take a better look. Here we go. Now this is what's called a genuine timing chain. You know, they install a nylon gear because it's a lot quieter than a regular timing chain. Here we go. Let's take a look. It's not a double roller, but look how loose it is. Oh, here goes that gasket, eh? Wow. Okay, let's take out the bolt. I can't wait to see this. Here we go. Here we go. Look at that. It's right down to the metal. All the nylon coating is gone. Here it is. This chain really has 200,000, almost 200,000 miles. It's not like a timing belt, you gotta change it every 100,000 kilometers or every 60, 70,000 miles. It's an aluminum gear with nylon coating on the teeth. This is where it is. And you can see these are stripped. There's a few left here with the nylon coating, but it's gone. Check this out. And it still worked. Even though the chain was very loose, still did the job. Not bad. I will take out the gear drive, or should I say oil pump drive, distributor drive, which is right here, like so. There's your oil pump drive, distributor drive. And now before I remove the oil pump, I'd like to loosen up the oil filter, like so. And now I'm going to remove the milling oil pump, which I consider the heart of the engine. It's like your heart pumps the blood around your body. The oil pump pumps the oil through the engine. So without this, ain't no running engine. So if you guys want to take care of your engine, always do an oil change. I know we don't change our blood, but on an engine, because it gets dirty, you got to change the oil every once in a while. You know, in the human body, it's called a transfusion when you need to have your blood replaced. Okay, I'll just tap off the oil pump, which we're gonna reuse it. Let me give it a tap. This is being replaced by Lucas, I believe. It's a milling oil pump, and for sure this is going to go back on. Looks pretty good. Oh, okay, what's next? Let's take off the cylinder heads. We'll start outwards and then go inboards. The opposite of installing a cylinder head. I'm curious to see if it still has the original cylinder head gasket, which I believe it is. Let's find out. There we go. The original castings, 906, just where they come from the factory, from 68 to 70. These are the cylinder heads they use on the 383 and 440s. 906 castings. All right, let's take a look over here. I see it's got the genuine Chrysler head gasket. All right, this is a 20 thou shim gasket, which is factory. Nothing wrong with this, but take a look at this. We got dish pistons. Wow, this is a low compression motor. Wow. That's probably what, 8.5 or something? No, I didn't expect dish pistons. But then again, it's a truck motor. I'm not too familiar with it. But we're not going back with dish pistons when we built this motor, that's for sure. Okay, I just want to see if the piston goes right up to the deck like so. Let me show you. Okay, there we go. There we have it. So the piston's probably just a few thou below the deck. Looks like it's practically almost level. But a dish piston is not going to be what we are going to install after we build it. We're going to go with a flat top piston, maybe with a couple of notches for valve reliefs, and that's about it. But these dish pistons, probably an 8.5 compression ratio motor. We're not going to go there because we want to bring it close to 10 with the cast iron heads. So there you have it. Let's take off the other cylinder head. And then after that, we're going to remove the oil pan. If you guys remember earlier, as we removed the plugs, plug number 8 was the worst one. So if you look at the exhaust port, look at this one. This is pretty dry, pretty dry, pretty dry. Look at this one, all wet and shiny. So if we know it is, we know for sure that this cylinder, number 8, is burning oil. We're gonna find out very soon. Go. Look at this. Look at these exhaust valves. They're all rusty color. like the rest. This one here is so shiny. That means that cylinder. You can tell. Look at the chamber. It's so shiny. You know there's something wrong with it. But you know they're not all that perfect. But this one is the worst one. So you know that is the purpose why we are overhauling this engine, putting new rings, doing a valve job, valve guides, and all. We're not going to use these lifters. I'll take them out, I'll put them in order anyways. But I'm just curious to see the wear and tear. After all, it's got a lot of mileage on it. They're stuck in there, they don't want to come out. This one's coming out. So you can see there's where, see it's not a flat finish, you can take a good look. This tells you that it's got high mileage, it's worn out. Or maybe the last so many thousand miles, they didn't use zinc in this oil, I'm not so sure. But it's normal, it's an old engine, it's got 200,000 miles on it. It's normal, it's all good. Let's just get them all out by now. There we go. I got that one. This one looks a little bit better. Okay, I'll take them out all in order. This one is stuck. It's only normal to be stuck anyways. Anyways, you know what? I'm not crazy about removing the lifters at the moment. I'm just curious to remove the oil pan, take a look at inside the crankshaft. Get a few lifters out. Doesn't matter. We'll get them out later on. I do not need to put them back in order because we're not going to use this cam or the lifters. You can see, look at this. It's like a mushroom. You see that? That's finished. It's gone. After all, it is an old engine. Gonna get a little bit messy. It doesn't matter. Here we go. Messy Betsy. Here we go. No, he didn't drain the antifreeze. Coolant. Oh, here we go. Okay, I gotta drain it. It's because the drain plug is blocked. That's why. It doesn't matter. All I want to do is remove the oil pan. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh, you sure know that's a truck pan, that's for sure. Let's take out the oil pan right now. That sure stinks, eh? Okay. Old oil. Yeah, old oil stinks. Hey, oh, yeah. Stinks, eh? There we go. I doubt it very much if this engine has a window straight, which is for high performance. But this, since it's a truck motor, if it has one, I'll be surprised. Okay, let's take a look. No, it's not bad using power tools once in a while. Especially on an oil pan, and there's so many bolts. Okay, here you go. Wow. Check this out. All the nylon teeth on the diamond chain, should I say the cam gear, it's all there. Oh, look at that. Okay, let's take a look at this. Here we go. Here it is. This is original, eh? Here it is. Dirt and grime. Check this out. Lucas, if you're watching, check this out. Remember what you mentioned? You made a comment once on our channel. You're gonna find the teeth on the nylon gear from the cam gear. You're right. It's in the oil pan right here. And of course, there is no window tray. See? There's no tray whatsoever. Okay, so this is really loose. Let's take this out. This is what's called an oil strainer. This is what sucks up the oil, bring it up to the top of the engine with the oil pump. Okay, so that's out. There we go. And now let's turn the crank. You know, if all the rods go back and forth, you know it's got no spun bearing. You know it's a good running motor. Look at that. Or should I say there's nothing wrong with the crankshaft. You know what? We're going to take out piston number 8. I want to see if the ring is broken. Since spark plug number 8 was the one most fouled up, I'm just curious. We are going to tear it down later on, but in the meantime, let's remove one piston and take a look at it. Here's to see how the bearing looks. This is a genuine bearing, I'm sure. It's a Chrysler bearing. Talk about wear and tear. So this bearing's got worn out, it's got scratches. It's a genuine Chrysler bearing. It is from the factory. It's worn out, it is scratched. Anyways, you know, it did its life. It's a genuine bearing, like I said earlier. So, it's pretty good shape. So let's take out the piston and let's take a look at the piston. Here we go. Oh, it won't come out. It's got such a ridge. Yeah, it's got a big ridge there. It ain't coming out. You know, the cylinder wears out right here. As the cylinder wears out, where the rings travel, they wear out the cylinder. And as you go to the very top, there's about 3/8 of a gap, or should I say, where the rings don't wear out the cylinder, and it's right here, it leaves a ridge. And for that reason, I cannot push the piston out because I have to remove the ridge to get that piston out. Anyways, that's what happens when you have an engine with a lot of mileage and a ridge buildup, which is naturally normal. There it is, it's stuck there. So I cannot remove the piston, so I'm gonna have to push it back down. I have to get myself a ridge reamer, remove the ridge, and then remove the piston later on. So Lucas, my buddy, with his YouTube channel from Coastal Auto Reaction from Victoria, British Columbia, there you have it. We're gonna have to build this engine from scratch. It's got the original pistons, cam, lifters, whatever you wanna call it. We're gonna tear it down, build this 3.3 for Betsy, and get at least 400 horsepower out of it and good torque numbers. Put it on the dyno, get it going. Until then, there you have it. So it sure needs an overhaul, that's for sure. And you guys, if you look down below the video, we have a whole bunch of merchandise that you guys can buy. So whatever you like, buy it, love it, wear it, and enjoy it. And help spread the word of Nick's Garage. And if you have some time, check out our Patreon page. We have extra content and you guys can watch it and take it from there. And we'll see you next time.